Good afternoon. My name is Adam Olsen. I'm the MLA for Saanich North and the Islands. You're watching the Public Circle Live. This is our weekly live show, I guess we could call it, where we get together at 4:30 every Friday afternoon, hang out and have a conversation about the most important and sometimes not important conversations that are happening in BC politics. My name is Adam Olsen. I'm the MLA in this beautiful place. Along with me today is Aldous Spurl. He's my Chief of Staff. How are you doing today, Aldous?
I'm great, thanks, Adam. Thanks for having me.
Awesome. I'd just like to remind you, as with every live video, if you could engage with us, hit the like button a few times, show us some love. And whether you're watching it live or if you're watching this on YouTube later, it's always great if you could share the video. We want to continue to grow the community that's watching this and engaging with us and asking questions. We'll do our best to move our way through the issues today so that we can maybe get to some questions. You were going to talk about who's with us today?
Two things. We've also got two of our staff that are jumping in to answer your questions as you put them. So if there's links or websites or information, they'll be adding that in. That's where that's coming from. Just want to let you know.
A lot of issues today, a lot of issues this week. It's been an off week.
From the legislature. You've had a break from the legislative duties.
Some would say that there's been several off weeks in a row, and we're going to hit to some of those issues that we've heard from British Columbians from constituents on, for sure. But yes, we have been off from no sitting this week, and actually no kids in school today either. It was a Pro-D day in School District 63. So we've got a bunch of issues to talk about, and at the end I've got a very special, this is a plug, I've got a very special story that I want to tell you about my most beautiful son, Silas, so we'll get to that hopefully as well.
Awesome. Cool. Well, Adam, let's get right down to it. We're going to vary things slightly this week, and I think we can move this way moving forward. But we want to talk about some of the issues that have come in right to our office this past week that we want to address. So the first one, we've heard a lot of Gulf Islanders being pretty upset about the cancellation and the service disruption to BC Ferries. Maybe we can chat about what we've done on that.
Yeah, sure. I mean, I think that there's no question that we've heard this issue. I've been tagged in a number of social media discussions around the disruption on the ferry service. We know that BC Ferries has also heard Islanders loud and clear. We've been contacting the ferry service and sharing the frustrations that we're hearing. I think it goes to highlight the challenges that island communities have in their transportation. We've just sent an email, or actually not an email, but a letter off. We've been talking to them on the phone. We've also sent a letter off to them to ask them about what can be done in between now and the middle of this month. I'd love to say, we can get another ferry on this situation right now. I don't know that that's going to happen. But one of the most important things that we can do is we can learn from this. And so the question that we asked was, what has BC Ferries learned from this situation? And what are they going to do to ensure that this kind of situation where a ferry comes out of service due to a safety or a safety issue doesn't further damage the economic, social viability of the Gulf Island communities? You've been on this file. And you've been in the constituency office. I've been out at meetings and stuff. Do you have anything to add to that?
Well, I would say that the reason why the ship is not there and why the service disruption is totally valid. We can't have unsafe ships, and we realize how important they are. But something that you just said, I think it's important that we plan for if this happens. We don't want it to happen during the busy summer tourism months. We know the impact that would have. And just wanted to let you know that we are addressing it and we're trying to find some answers for you.
So there was just a question asking about more shipbuilding in British Columbia. We do have quite a bit of shipbuilding actually in our province. We don't necessarily build the big ships. We haven't tooled our shipbuilding industry necessarily for that. There's been some. There's a transport boat that for Seaspan that works out of Swartz Bay that was built here, I believe. We do an awful lot of small shipbuilding, pleasure craft boats, aluminum boats, some of the water taxi boats that you see. So we do certain things well. We don't necessarily specialize in some other things, in some other style boats, but
Totally. So, just for all you people in the Gulf Islands who are experiencing this, we're aware of it. Thank you for your emails, and we're taking action, doing what we can.
Doing the best we can in a situation that's tough, yeah.
So, next thing I want to talk about is Kinder Morgan.
What's that?
Who knows? Kinder Morgan, never heard of that before.
No.
We've got a lot of emails that have come in on this, Adam, as you know. And we also have a poll up on our PlaySpeak platform. And we have a dialogue on Kinder Morgan coming up on May 17th. So we have heard loud and clear how this is an issue. And we're trying to gauge the feedback. And most people seem to be quite opposed to Kinder Morgan, at least in this riding from what we've heard. I also want to talk just a little bit about the process, because we heard this week there was a whistleblower allegation that came through and the suggestion that Prime Minister Justin Trudeau's government rushed its review on Trans Mountain, had made up its mind even before all the review had been done to support the project, despite claiming at the time that they were consulting First Nations and the public. So, you were a part of that. You were an intervener in that process. Does that come as a surprise to you?
Not at all. In fact, I think you can go back to the video of my intervention, of my final argument, where I called it, and I know Emily, if she's watching, she's not going to like me to repeat this, but I called it a dog and pony show. She said, please don't call it that again, but that's what I called it, a dog and pony show. I basically told them that I basically said to them, I suspect that the decision has already been made, and this entire process has been designed to get to a specific result to approve this project. And I said to the panel, you are going to come back with recommendations to approve this project, and you're going to ignore what most of us have been saying. And as it turns out, they did. The federal Liberals, Justin Trudeau, in the election promised a brand new process. Instead, he kind of went halfway, put a three-person panel in place to try to make the National Energy Board approval better, I guess. He then proceeded to ignore what they said. They entirely predicted the situation that's going on right now. And I talked about that. You can see a video about that. I asked a question about that in question period just a couple weeks ago. No, this process was designed right from the very beginning, from the Harper days all the way through the Trudeau days. Trudeau's just following up and finishing Harper's business on this. This process was predetermined, predestined, and you could see it right from the very beginning when they decided that they weren't going to require Trans Mountain to be cross-examined, an oral cross-examination. In fact, they didn't even require me to be no oral cross-examination of the stuff that I said, which is ridiculous. I am a intervener. I was asked to provide evidence, and then nobody was required to test that evidence. That's the process that.
So not surprising that we have a lack of confidence in this process, and the allegations that the decision was made ahead of time.
The only thing that's surprising in this is that a prime minister can stand up in front of his country and say that this decision was based on evidence and that it was based on science. That's the only thing that's surprising in all of this. Actually, you know what else is surprising? On the day that the government of British Columbia last week announced the question that was going to go before the courts, the question that was going to go to the courts, the jurisdictional question. Sorry. Catherine McKenna, our environment minister, sent a letter saying that they wanted to create some kind of body to take a look further at how diluted bitumen is impacted in the oil or in the ocean. And yet the decision that was made based on the fact that there was science, and the federal government is so twisted and contorted in this. It's shocking. It's shocking that we're even still having the kind of fight that we're having in our province, interprovincial, in our country on this. The absolute shocking lack of leadership. I'm happy that our government is standing strong on this. I continue to support them standing strong. And in fact, I think they could even stand stronger, specifically with the letter that they got from the Saanich people. And for those of us in Saanich North and the islands, this issue is front and center for us. Those ships come right through our backyard, right through the channel between the San Juan Islands and Pender Island, Saturna Island. This has a massive impact on us, and I am demanding that they get this understanding of the diluted bitumen's behavior in the ocean sorted out before expanding this industry in any way.
Thank you for that, Adam. Again, we do have a Kinder Morgan dialogue coming up May 17th, and I want to stress that even if you're for the Kinder Morgan pipeline, you think there's economic benefits, you think that the process was approved, therefore we should honor that process, that sort of argument, please come. Please share your views. We want to have a good discussion on this. So,
yeah, I mean, these dialogues are not. I've been very outspoken in the other situation, other topics that we've had. They've been much broader in nature. This one I've been very outspoken on, that I have a position on. I don't want that to discourage anybody from participating. We absolutely want to have a full discussion on this from all sides of the issue. So
you can also participate in our poll on PlaySpeak if you want to do that. And there's some options of Anyway,
I'll put a link in the description below this. I don't believe it's there now, but later on I'll put a link in there to my website, adamolsen.ca. And you'll be able to see the PlaySpeak. It's at the bottom of the page as well. You can go to the events page and see the details on the Kinder Morgan dialogue.
Great. Last thing, and before we get to some of those comments that are up there, speculation tax.
Yeah.
So we've still gotten a lot of comments. A lot of people are still opposed to speculation tax in this area, and they're writing to you as the MLA.
Quite a number in favor of it as well, actually.
That's a good point. We've heard both sides.
We have.
Absolutely. So maybe you can just speak to where that process is at and problems with how it's maybe been introduced and the problem it might be trying to solve, or how it's been communicated.
Yeah, there is a communication challenge for sure. I think people are confused. I think the rollout was confusing. I think the selection of taxation policy might not be might not be broad enough. I think that they only used a couple of the tools. Would have loved to see a flipping tax, which I think was a massive part of this, where property is flipped several times with value increasing each time, and
particularly like the shadow flipping, for example.
That's exactly right.
Over the top.
The other issue that I think is missing here is the ability for municipalities to put an empty homes tax in place. I think we actually, if you go back to what the Greens have been saying, is that we need to actually deal with the problem, that we have to actually answer the problem that exists. And I think the speculation tax might answer some of the problem, but it certainly is not the full, doesn't answer the full question. So I'll just say this to it, though. We've got this summer to be working with the government, to be providing input. A lot of people have been very emotional about this, and I understand that. I understand why. On both sides of it, people who don't have a house, who are feeling very vulnerable, and people who also have invested in these communities and also feeling vulnerable. There's a lot of vulnerable people right now, and that has got emotions high, and I respect that. And I want you to know that I don't take offense to anything that comes in. Well, okay, I don't take offense to most things that come in, as long as it comes in, as long as the information comes in to me and I can do something with it. So there's no reason to come in hot on this issue. I come in and share your position and share how you feel on it, but know that my primary role here is to gather that information and to bring it to government. And over the next couple of months, that's exactly what we'll be doing, because the speculation tax will be brought in legislation in the fall. So just know that our goal here is to collect as much information on this as possible. We've got a ton of feedback, both for and against the current specific speculation tax. The number one piece of advice is that I have is that the government needs to be clear on tax policy when they bring it in. It cannot be something that is just kind of evolving. There's too many people involved that are implicated in that and that can be hurt by that. So I just say we've got a couple of months here for us to collect some information, to get it to government, also send it to government. them hearing directly from you is also very important as well.
Thank you for that, Adam. The next thing I want to touch on, and this actually touches on Roy's comment who just talked about the Salmon Secretariat. Poll came out earlier this week, and you did a video that hopefully Ryan can link to that said...
Or Laura,
if she's on, yeah. 74.6% of BC respondents preferred an immediate ban on open net salmon farms.
Yep.
And almost half of those polled at strongly. They really strongly support that statement. So right. that's a lot of public support for banning fish farms in this province. To Roy's question, where's the Salmon Secretariat at?
We've sent off a document to government outlining the feedback that we received at the roundtable a couple of weeks back. You might remember I did the Public Circle Live from the hotel room in Vancouver after our roundtable. We've compiled the comments that we received from that. We've sent it to government. We've sent it to a number of actually the highest ranking members of our government actually have received that report. We are pulling together a public version of that we hope to get out within the coming next few days, very, very soon. I would just say that, look, I think that it's really important that we focus on what the problem is. The problem is twofold from how I see it. Fragmentation in British Columbia. Nobody is responsible for, many people are responsible for fish policy. We need, and the outcome of that was a lot of agreement that we need to have a single voice standing up for wild fish. And we've had a government that's been very, very supportive of open net aquaculture. So it's been very clear that fragmentation, and we need to reorganize, and we need to have a strong voice. And the second piece is we need to stop deflecting all of the responsibility off onto DFO. DFO, the Department of Fisheries and Oceans, has responsibility in this file, no question about it. But so does the provincial government, and it's irresponsible for us to say, yes, we support wild salmon, but we cannot let the federal government off the hook. And so many times that I've asked that question, that's the answer I've got back, and the only thing that I hear is, we're trying to deflect onto the federal government and let ourselves off the hook. And I am not. I have no patience for that any longer. We have to take responsibility for how we're managing our forests and watersheds, and how we're building our roads, and the type of culverts and fish ladders that we're using, the blockages on the fish-bearing streams and creeks. We have to be responsible for how we're dealing with climate and environment. There is so much how we're agriculture policy. There's so much provincial responsibility here. Patience is wearing on the deflection, and whatever action the provincial government decides to take on this, it needs to have, in my opinion, it's going to have less fragmentation. There needs to be a reorganization, a consolidation into an office with a single powerful voice that can stand up for wild salmon. Any more fragmentation of this is just going to muddle, mix up, confuse. It's going to make the situation worse. So for me, I'm really strongly advocating that, and I think that the groups that we brought together a couple of weeks ago were really strongly advocating for a singular voice, and I'm really hoping that that's the way that the government goes. We'll see.
Thanks, Adam. Okay, we're going to move tracks here a bit. Thank you to everyone who's emailed us this week about your comments, about your concerns. We're going to try and address them once a week in this sort of format, so appreciate that. We had an interesting week in the constituency, though. First of all, we got a lovely tour of the Innovation Center at Camosun College.
Yeah.
I don't know about you. I was quite inspired from that, seeing how prototypes are being developed, seeing how industry was involved, local industry, how we were becoming world leaders, and by involving the students. It was pretty cool. And this builds right off last week when we talked about the resource colony. And so maybe we can sort of pivot from that negative perspective that we had last week and move to a positive outlook for BC with this sort of innovation center stuff.
Well, look, I mean, I think that it's important that we set the baseline. That's what we did last week, and it certainly caught the attention of some people. They're, tweeting away, whatever. Keep tweeting. But what I would say is that if you take a look at the programs and the programs and support that we have for programs like Camosun Innovates, for an example, the provincial government has a lot of work to do. We are falling behind other jurisdictions who are matching federal grants. Take a look at Ontario. I just got a bunch of documents here that came in. We're going to be asking questions about this. We could be doing a lot better. One of the things that we learned about Camosun Innovates was that this is hands-on, much different than the university programs that are more along the lines of software engineers and theoretical work. What Camosun does particularly well, and what they did for me when I was in applied communication, was they put the tools in my hands and said, play with it. Make it work for you. Figure out how you can make cool stuff happen with these tools. And it was much more applied, much more hands-on. And that's the work that at the colleges they do very, very well. And what we learned was that Camosun is working with a lot of small, innovative businesses in the region, in our riding, in fact. And what they're doing is they're working as a research and development arm for small companies that can't afford to have a research and development arm. So,
and what better way to support our small businesses to become world leaders in their products
and introduce their students to their job to future jobs, right? So this is exactly the kind of model that we're talking about. When I talk about the government, subsidizing corporate interests, and people say, "Well, hold on a second here, because what about subsidies for renewable energy?" My feeling is that the government investing in these kind of programs at Camosun is where government money should be flowing to.
And it's investing in people.
That's exactly right. And what that does is it provides a capacity for learning and education, and it also provides a capacity to local businesses to partner with them to provide a service that they're not necessarily able to do themselves until they grow and become businesses that have their own R&D arms. So I think that this is, and you're going to see, I just want to actually tease this rather than talk about it much more, because I think that you'll see us asking some questions. I haven't got full confirmation on it, but if not, I will circle back around. I'm hoping to have some videos about this coming out next week or in a couple of weeks of us asking the government about this, because what I think the key takeaway is Camosun Innovates is awesome, and they're doing a great job, and they're helping local businesses, and other provinces are doing a much better job in providing financial support to those college programs, matching funds, matching grant money that the federal government provides, that Camosun's getting money to, but they're not getting the matching funds from the provincial government. So we're going to be asking how the provincial government can step up in this.
Cool. You also had a visit to Parkland Secondary, and you got to speak to some high school students this week. Maybe chat a bit about that.
Yeah, that was awesome. And unfortunately, we weren't able to get the Wi-Fi to work with the other technology that I showed you that we have, but we just don't have it set up. It doesn't work in our office yet. Because I wanted to show you some pictures from, and in future weeks I'll be able to show pictures. We could show pictures. It was a great event at Parklands, and these events are just hanging out with high school students, having conversation, giving them access to their government, answering questions, and it was a lot of fun. And I think that this is a good opportunity for you to plug. I want you to know. I just want to let people know. Stellies, Gulf Island Senior Secondary, Parklands, 3 really, really high quality high schools. I love going and visiting and hanging out with high school students and having conversations. Their ideas are unbelievable. Their the intuition, mind blowing.
And for any students who might be watching this right now, we're having a bit of an event here, specifically focused on youth issues. Anything that you want to bring to Adam's attention, we're going to have a big sort of dialogue. It's happening on May 24th, I believe.
Again, check out our website.
Check our website. But if you're from one of the secondary schools, we would love to see you.
Yeah, and you know what? Look, we often hear politicians say the following. To say, "Oh yeah, we're making decisions for youth. Youth are our number one priority," and you hear politicians pander to youth, to the youth vote. I just want to say this. We do not do a good enough job of listening and hearing the challenges that youth have in our society. And that's what I want to I hope to be able to create. We've been working with Hunter Lestuca from Stellies on this.
Great guy.
And I want to actually have a regular gathering with youth to just sit and listen and just to shut my mouth and to open my ears and hear what they have to say and hear them advise me on where I should go, where we should go.
So, on the last note, youth, you've got a son.
I do.
Your son was in a competition this week, and he taught you something.
Yeah, so that's right. I this is great that we can end off here. I want to talk about my kid, Silas. He's an amazing kid. He's in grade 5 at Brentwood Elementary. A beautiful kid. And again, I wish that we had this technology so that I could show you this picture of him just flying. He is in cross country, and he started cross country in grade 3, and they race 3 races every year. So that means he has now completed 9 races. And Silas went in his first race, got 48th in grade 3, 48th out of 100. And he's run with the same kids, right? Obviously, they all age at the same rate, so I shouldn't need to tell you that. Anyway, he's run with the same group of 100 kids, grade 3 boys, grade 4 boys, grade 5 boys. First race, he got 48th. Second race in grade 3, he got 59th. Third race in grade 3, he got 44. We had a conversation after the second and third race to say, hey, Silas, what's your strategy? What's your plan? And he says he didn't really have a plan. So I said, why don't you focus on the kid ahead of you and just work through the group like that.
Okay, yeah.
In grade 4, and Emily's on here, so she might tell us exactly the places. He got a handful of places between 42 and then 37 and then 35. So the kid's improving all the way through, right? And each and every time he comes across the finish line, mom and dad crying, like just watching him run just makes me emotional. Anyway, so he goes into grade 5, and he continues with his strategy to just improve every week in and week out. It's just improvement. First week, 35th. Second week, 27th. Third week on Wednesday, because we didn't have the legislative sitting, I got a chance to go and watch his last elementary school race. Yes, Emily, thank you to School District 63. My kid finished 25th, and he basically improved himself. He went from being in the middle of the pack to being in the top quarter of the pack over those 9 races. And it's that spirit, it's that heart that I hope to be able to take to this operation that we do here, to be constantly improving, to be constantly looking forward to what it is that we could be doing to improve ourselves. And his spirit and his heart really taught me. And again, it's an emotional thing for me as his dad to watch this kid come across the finish line with a big smile on his face, knowing that he's improving himself. And it's that spirit that I hope to be able to inject into, and that we can inject into the life of this constituency office. And to know that, yeah, you know what, we're going to be criticized. We're going to be, no question about it. We're going to be criticized. We're going to be given props for things that we did do, things that we haven't done. We're going to be criticized for. But just know, we don't ever take any of it personally. We just always try to improve over the last time, for the next time. And so it's with that spirit, I wanted to give a shout out to my son, because he taught a big, big lesson to me and hopefully to all of us. And I think that he's going to probably go into grade 6 and look at 25th and say, how can I improve on that? And also, I think that it's important to point out that never once was he deflated that he wasn't first. He was only always wanting to improve on the position that he had. And if he improved one, like last week to this week, he improved 2 spots. And when he saw that ribbon that said 25th on it, he was like, yes, I achieved my goal of improving over last time. So that's the spirit that we're going to be taking in, that we do take in, and that we're going to continue to take into here. And I just took a bunch of minutes to praise about how awesome my kid is. So thank you for hanging in there with me.
Thank you, Silas, for encouraging us to strive towards excellence. We will continue to do so. I do want to plug just a few things for all those watching. On that note of striving for excellence, we're having our first ever MLA feedback forum coming up at the end of the month. So if you haven't seen anything about it yet, I highly encourage you to check it out. You can see all the details on our website. Spots are limited. We'd really encourage everyone to sign up if you're interested. This is a nonpartisan, completely nonpartisan evaluation of how you feel the government is doing, acting on certain issues, as well as how this guy's doing. And he's going to be there at the beginning and at the end to say thank you and greet, but he's not in the room to hear your feedback. This is a totally removed from this office, but hosted by this office thing, so everyone can be very candid, very honest in your feedback, and we're hoping to take that and improve what we already do. So
this is a Silas event. I want to improve, and the only way I can do it is if I get honest feedback from you. Please sign up to that event.
And as I mentioned earlier, we've got our Kinder Morgan Dialogue coming up May 17th. Please join us for that. And we have a series of town halls going to every island in our riding. We're
busy.
We are. All throughout June. We're just hitting islands at different points and talking about various issues. So if there's something you would like us to talk about when you're on your island, give us a shout. If there's something you want us to talk about next week, some issue in this riding or in the province that you want to hear Adam's opinion on, please send us an email. We'll try and include it. And that's all I've got.
I got to go to sleep. This week, what we're not telling you, and maybe you noticed because our brains have, well, my brain, I won't speak about your brain.
I'm a bit tired.
It's we got hit by the not in session flu this week, or cold, I guess. So thank you for hanging in there with us this week. I need to go home and go to bed for the weekend, although Silas is pitching tomorrow, so I'm going to be up for that for sure. Thanks a lot for hanging out with us.
Thanks for watching.
Again, thank you. Hit the like button a few times. Maybe show us a little bit of love. You can reach us at our office at 250-655-5600. You can email us. The link, the phone number, the website will all be in the description below. Join us again next week at 4:30 every Friday. And hey, by the way, if there's a time that works better for you, I mean, we just picked Friday at 4:30 because that worked for us. Might not work for everybody. Let us know maybe another time that works for you. We're happy to get together and have these conversations. And I guess that's it for this week. Thank you very, very much for joining us. Good to see you, Roy. Good to see you, Steve. Good to see you, Emily. Emily joined us this week.
She did.
So thanks a lot, and we're back in session next week.
I just want to say, Dee, we'll try and get to your comments afterwards. I don't have the specific information for you there, but we'll try and respond.
We'll circle back around and fill them out. Thank you very much. Don't forget to share this, and have a great week. See you again next Friday. Till then, Hayekwa.